Hello there, I'm Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Now, back to the show. All right, this was updated June 27, 2017 by Chris Morgan. Do your eyes fool you? Ancient vision and a new reality. How to see and draw like the ancients. From the beginning of time, those among us now called artists have tried to capture in two dimensions what they saw of the real, three-dimensional world in which they lived. Almost from the very beginning, a space, the immaterialistic stuff that envelops us, became the object of their fascination. How could they represent it? The creativity of the early Homo sapiens allowed them for the first time to paint animals on irregular walls using, for example, a depression to represent the prominent belly of a bison. The overlapping images of animals on a cavern wall allowed them to reproduce the top-down vision, which a hunter might have seen from the top of a promontory. Oh God, I'm butchering that one. Oof. As they watched the plain below them. So I have been battling all sorts of words today. I apologize. This is a photo from the Sahara, shepherds and hunters. Homo sapien was not only a sculptor, but was also able to sketch on a flat surface. For this, they recreated special tools, anticipating the efforts needed to execute such designs. Now, if you watch my video on the Denisovans, you know that the Denisovans, prior to these Homo sapiens, were already creating jewelry. And I mean beautiful jewelry. So we have more pictures from the Sahara. So our ancestors manipulated an abstract concept such as space with great skill. Our view of the way they might have lived is in part shaped by the fact that they carried this baggage of such abstract and relational concepts. It seems that this natural skill was several times lost to humanity. If, for example, we move forward to the timeline to the first mother cities of Mesopotamia around 5,000 years ago, one finds that they made no effort at all to represent physical space, at least not what we have found thus far. For this, we have to wait until the Hellenistic period when documented works began to appear in the Mediterranean basin and also further east in China. It must be noted that social organizations played a fundamental role in the aspirations of artists. The complexity of life developed together with appropriate techniques for the representation of space. In short, we can distinguish three main types of perspective: the curvilinear, the collinear, the rectilinear, and the real. These three techniques coexisted over time. Astronomy and trigonometry, the curvilinear perspective. This technique consists in using curves emanating from a singular vanishing point. We first notice the Greeks use curves to construct temples whose columns have outward towards their midpoint or zenith, and are narrower or concave near ground level. We see this principle at work in some existing monuments such as Tra's column built in Rome AD 107 that followed hidden rules of trigonometry. And here we have a picture of the column. These principles of trigonometry were collected in AD 150 by Panopoly of Alexandria in the form of the table of circular arcs, originally as used by astronomers. And here we have the column of Tahar. An observer sees the bottom of the top of the frieze under the same angle. During the Renaissance, artists did not concern themselves with the principles of trigonometry. It was really not part of their training. I wonder why. Thus, they were hampered by the fact that they could not define the fugitive curves which they observed when they viewed a landscape through a window. Artistic masters such as Brunelleschi and Alberti opted instead for an approximation known as the reticular perspective, limiting their works to a narrow observational window. And here's a 15th century illustration from the Old French translation of William of Ty's History de Haute-Mer. However, many famous painters from Fouquet 1420 to 1481 to Matisse 1869 and 1954 intuitively use magnifying glass effect or a Curvilian perspective without dwelling too much on any underlying theory. And here we have The Young Sailor 1 oil canvas by Henry Matisse, 1901. By royal edict, the rectilinear perspective. Alberti, by representing here in the same drawing in a view facing a grid on the left and profile view on the right, gives a method of constructing of the enlargement of squares when they are closer to the observer. The principle consists in saying that in the landscape everything converges to infinite towards a vanishing point from which start receding starlight lines. The lines of equal magnification of the objects are also straight. This technique had the advantage of simplicity. It also avoided the magnifying glass effect that was too close to the raw reality. The Genoese architect Alberti, 1404 to 1472, elaborated a method showing the steps in the mapping of space. The French architect Desargues, 1593 to 1693, developed the theorem further, showing it by a construction of the shadows cast by the sun on the floor. This is the classical system we know and which prevailed in European academics from the 18th to the middle of the 19th centuries. Now imagine if they implemented trigonometry and calculus into this. Would have been a game changer. The types of drawings these artists would have been able to create. But it's remarkable that this system was not one willingly chosen by the artists themselves. It had to be imposed by a royal edict of the French king Louis, I don't know, the 18th, whatever, who knows, I'm sorry. He did this in order to put an end to the tiresome polemics between the partisans of the curvilinear perspective, in particular Canon Bosse, and those rectilinear perspectives such as Lebrun, director of the Royal Academy. Now we're getting into some political art battles. Love it. And here we have Louis, the King of France, in 1661. On their side, Chinese artists represented space with parallel lines, which does not really correspond to our psychological perception. In the picture below, the table appears as if they have shifted out of line. The overall effect is quite pleasing, if not exactly what the artist intended. Erie, 1709-1800 Japan, tea by the seaside. And you know what's interesting about this picture, and it's a Far East rectilinear parallel perspective. This one seems more interactive. You know, when you look at this Japanese version as composed to this European version up here, there's so much going on. It's chaotic. It's really constricted to just this plane, and they're building something, but it's so overwhelmingly chaotic. There's so much kind of going on. But when you look at a Japanese version of East rectilinear parallel perspective, it's more open. You feel like you can actually kind of step into the picture. I just think it's fascinating, the comparison and the implication of the Hindu influence on art in terms of the mathematical views in art and the implications. I think this is fascinating. Lessons from our eyes. The real perspective. The first systemic attempt to define the vanquishing lines and steps of magnification was that the Bear and Flocon, who in the 1930s took note of the fact that our human perception is constructed in a spherical space of the physical eyeball. And here is a curvilinear spherical perspective by Bear and Flocon in the 1930. The bottle is behind the sketcher. At the same time, in 1947, M.C. Escher, in his lithograph Above and Below, represented a patio as a cylindrical perception of space. According to his friend Bruno Ernst, he used a sinusoidal arcs, repeating mathematical curves such as a sine wave, but without being aware of it. Oh, and there we have in that photo. Here is M.C. Escher up and down and above and below. And there again, we have more, Veda teachings, Gnostic teachings. It's, art and religion literally is one and the same. And art, religion, and science, it's one and the same. In 1928, David Hockney photographed the Grand Canyon of Colorado with 200 shots. He did this because he maintained that we are surrounded by a cylindrical space because of the presence of our two eyes. And here is David Hockney's photographs of the Grand Canyon all put together. Actually, wow, whoa, that is trippy. Oh, that is trippy. Wow. The present author, writing in 2002, Drawing in Real Perspective, demonstrates that in cylindrical space, the receding lines are trigonometric arcs, and the curves of constant magnification are ellipsoids. When they find again the principles of construction of the Greek temples on the column of Trajan, what appears when Leonardo da Vinci transferred a landscape through a window panel, and the magnifying effect used intuitively by Mattacci. Perspective at home. The application of this technique is actually surprisingly easy to do. All that is required is for the artist to look again with renewed attention at all the angles and curves. The neuroscience has shown us that our body is made for this task. The eye sees curves, the brain captures them. Even the movement of the joints in our arms works on these principles. When the angle meets a wall, we draw a trigonometric, i.e. curved line almost without thinking. With a little retaining, these natural curves are used to make images on paper a real perspective. After a while, it becomes considerably faster to work this way, the risk of making an error virtually non-existent. And here we have a photo of a constrained magnification of curves. And here we have another photo of magnification of curves. And this was a 3-minute drawing with practice by Xavier Bolot. The newly rediscovered techniques of real perspective, based as they are on the natural techniques determined by our physiological perception, in part returns to us in mindset and wondrous skill of prehistoric ancestors. Hello there, I'm Kios, Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.